Hi, this is Rebecca Cuthbert for Alien Buddha Press. I will be reading Horror Showdown Finalist number 2, Who's a Good Boy by Cossette. And for this reading, we are at the dog park. Scooter, Haley sighed, dropping her purse on the kitchen table. You made a mess on the carpet again? I let you out to do your business before I left for work. She slammed her keys onto the table, the small frame shuddering at the force. Gripping at her curly, red locks in frustration, she groaned. Haley walked over to the sink and dropped to her knees, scouring in the cupboard for her bristle brush and the special cleaner she had bought for the carpet she loved so dearly. Her stomping made the house thunder as she stormed to the bathroom and grabbed the red bucket kept under the sink. Placing it under the faucet of her bathtub, she turned the dial to warm. Hot water started to fill the bucket and she poured in some of the cleaner. Her nose tingled from the chemical smell. Once it was filled, she turned the water off and lugged the bucket back to the kitchen. She glared at her pet, who was cowering in the corner. Scooter knew he had done something bad to upset Haley. She dropped the bucket, causing some of the soapy mixture to spill over the sides onto the floor, and got down on her knees. She grabbed the wooden scrub brush and, soaking it first in the mixture, began to delicately scour and dab the puddle of piss. You know, Haley gritted as she got angrier at her carpet being stained for the third time, I am a very good owner. I give you the best diet. You sleep in a plush bed. You live in a well-heated home, and what thanks do I get? She slammed the brush down and leaned back on her haunches. There are others like you who live on the streets, Scooter. The streets. They sleep out there, shivering in the cold, and they actually have to scavenge, to fight for the smallest scrap of food. Do you not see how lucky you are? With Scooter's mute reply, Haley pursed her lips and started cleaning again. I saved you, you know. The carpet was a burning orange with swirls of yellow and red. It was slightly offensive to the eye, but that's what Haley liked about it. She found a deep pleasure in taking in and restoring the ugly. 3 years ago, I found you in an alleyway, in a box of all things. She paused as the memory of that day washed over her. It had been raining, a violent rain that was so cold it felt like razor blades were hitting your skin. She had just left the grocery store, her arms sagging with reusable bags filled with produce and organic, grain-fed, GMO-free meat. She had planned to walk back to her apartment, but the rain ruined those plans for her. A taxi then, she thought. She hated those toxic little gas guzzlers, but she wasn't going to walk the 2 blocks home. I am not an animal. She ducked into the alleyway between the grocery store and supplement store to wait for her cab when she heard a heart-wrenching mew. Behind her there was nothing but overflowing dumpsters and trash, and yet the whining persisted. She sniffed. God, what is dying back there? She stepped further into the alleyway, peering around soiled garbage bags and the dumpsters for the pathetic animal that could be making such a sound. She made kissing sounds to entice the creature to come out. Here, little baby, come out, I won't hurt you. Nothing came out, but the whines were closer. The rain drummed on the lids of the dumpsters, and Haley's ears roared when she came upon the cardboard box. The poor thing was lying in its own excrement and looked close to death. She could count each and every rib as the animal's chest stuttered along. Her heart panged at its misfortune, and she decided then and there that she would take it home with her. I brought you home that day, Scooter, and truly, I have never regretted that decision. She set her brush down and smiled at her lovely companion. He was a goofy-looking mutt. His eyes were brown ringed with yellow, and his coat was patchy, a blend of red and brown fur sticking up in random tufts. His eyes skittered away from her gaze, anxious still from her previous anger. I know that it was all a big change for you, especially all the surgeries you had to go through to make sure you could live with me safely and forever. Boy, could she remember those days. He was riddled with disease, and even though she was a good person, she couldn't bring such filth into her home. So she left him with a friend who could clear everything up as well as make him suitable for her small space. The price had been steep and Scooter had been so afraid, but it really was for his benefit. "But Scooter, I love you." She held out an open palm, waiting for her pet to sniff and lick it lovingly, but he didn't. He continued to claw himself into the corner of the room, terrified of what may come next. Sadness curled around her insides, cloaking her entirely until her eyes landed on the dark spot that still remained on her carpet. The shadows in her chest dissipated. She picked up the scouring pad and went back to work. The mangy mutt didn't know how good he had it. If someone can't realize how lucky they are, then I may just have to put them down. It would break my heart to do so, but if you can't learn to be good, then you give me no other option. The man, cowering in the corner, screamed in response, his naked body shivering with anxiety at the thought of being euthanized. His amputated limbs paddled himself over to Haley, and he attempted to paw at her thigh with one of his stumps, angry purple stitching twisting along it. He gazed up at her with tears in his eyes. A somber whimper filled the air, and he nuzzled his head into her side. Her heart melted, and she brought up her hand to scratch him behind the ear. "Oh, Scooter, I can never stay mad at you. Come on now." She pushed herself off the floor. "I'll get your dinner."